What's up, MMO Attack fans? This is Super Zero here, bringing you a first impressions video for Star Wars: The Old Republic free-to-play, published by EA Games and developed by BioWare. Here's a select server screen, and as you can see, there's really not a whole lot of servers to pick from. This game has had quite a population drop for various reasons since launch. However, all the servers that currently exist, as you can see, are quite populated. So we'll go ahead and we'll just pick the server. We'll select the Ebon Hawk because I played the Old Republic games and I remember that. So we're going to log into our selected server, and the next thing it's going to ask us really quick is going to ask us to choose our allegiance. And as you all probably already know, you can choose between one of two factions in this game. You can choose between the Republic or you can go with the Sith. Of course, one faction is supposedly the good faction and the other one is supposedly the evil faction, so whichever you prefer. For the purposes of this first look video, we'll go ahead and go with the Galactic Republic.
Enough is enough.
Okay, now that we're at character creation, as you can see here, we can pick between one of four base classes. We can be the Jedi Knight. It says, leaders and warriors, heroes and champions, the Jedi Knight have stood at the forefront of every battle. They are masters of lightsaber arts, kicking, jumping, and flashing through the air and using the Force to clear the way in front of them. The Jedi Consular, a master of the secrets of the Force. The Jedi Consular is both a fighter and healer, teacher, and student. The Force can be used to cloud the minds of the weak, restore strength to the fallen, and hurl both opponents and objects through the air. The Smuggler, living life by their own rules. Smugglers are the galaxy's most unpredictable characters. They dress for ease of movement, with a healthy dose of style, carry one or dual blasters, and are always ready to shoot first, stealth up, and sneak away after. The Trooper. Across the galaxy, the Republic's elite special forces drop into the harshest conflicts, ready to do damage. Outfitted with advanced armor, huge weaponry, and the best training possible, troopers combine leadership with suppression fire, a variety of explosives, and incendiary weapons. Those are the four base classes for Star Wars: The Old Republic, and while it may not seem like four classes is a lot, each of the base classes actually has two advanced classes which they can pick from after reaching level 10 and completing their origin world. For the purposes of this first look, we'll go ahead and pick the Jedi Knight because I'm sure that's what most people are going to want to see. So we'll go ahead and click Next, and as you can see, here's where we select our species. Now, with a recent update that brought the Legacy system, Republic players can actually create classes using the Sith races, or races that are available only to the Sith faction. And when you look at this, it can be kind of hard to tell which classes were always available to subscribers, and then which classes were you could either purchase now or you could have bought with legacy points. But as you can see, you are very restricted in terms of the race of your character without having to pay money. You can only pick between Zabrak, which is the default, or the human. We're going to go ahead and go with the human, and of course you can select your gender. You can be male or female. We'll stick with male. And there's my character right there. The game doesn't offer a whole lot of character customization, but it does offer an acceptable amount. It's a little bit better, I think, than maybe the character customization found in World of Warcraft, Lord of the Rings, or it's probably on par with Rift, I would say, in terms of character customization. Not quite as good as City of Heroes or Champions Online or Ion or a game like that. Anyway, you can definitely change the body type. It kind of goes from super skinny to a normal size to muscular to incredibly overweight. Let's go. Let's stick with incredibly overweight. And of course, you can have different kinds of. It says head, but it's actually more of like your face. What kind of face you want? We'll go with that guy. You can, of course, you can choose between different scars on your face. Let me show you. Let me zoom in. You can use the scroll wheel to zoom in and out. Of course, you can rotate your character any which way you want. But you can take a look at all the different facial features and options you have for different scars and things of that nature. We don't want any scars. Those look ugly. So you can have different, your complexion basically is like, well, do you want freckles, or it really doesn't change that much. You have a lot of different things in which you can change. Oh well, have to go a little slower with the slider and you start to notice some somewhat minor differences in terms of your complexion, but you do have to go pretty slow when you're looking at this, otherwise you're going to skip through a lot because you have a lot of different choices in terms of what you want to do. So let's go right here. You can change your eye color. Eye color doesn't matter that much because you're going to have to be zoomed in pretty close to your NPC or pretty close to your character to actually see it. You probably only notice it in something like a cutscene. So we'll keep our eye color like that. And we can choose a beard if we want one. Let's go with, let's see. I like that one. Okay, now we have different hairstyles. We have a number of different hairstyles. 28 different hairstyles. So that's more than enough hairstyles. But I kind of like that. There we go. It's I think that's a pretty cool looking Jedi Knight we have there. And of course you can change the hair color. I kind of like the default though, the blonde hair. And I like the skin color, but you can change the skin color, of course, if you so desire. But we'll stick with the default skin color, and we'll give him a random name. I do like that this game has a random name button, so I don't have to think up a name off the top of my head real quick. Okay, we'll click play. Alright, here's our very, very, very first moments in the game, and as you can see, it's a bit of a cutscene coming up. Unless you've been living under a rock for all this time, then you very well know that Star Wars The Old Republic, the questing in Star Wars The Old Republic is based around a main storyline. Each class has their own storylines. So, in the interest, well, so I don't want to spoil anything for you guys in terms of the storyline, so I'm just going to space bar through all these quests because I really don't want to ruin the story for you guys. And he's going to have a lot to say to me. Okay, so now we actually have control of our character for the very, very first time. Alright. Well, before we get into the details, let's take a look at the user interface. The user interface is definitely fairly standard for this sort of MMORPG, but there are a few key differences. First of all, take a look at the hotbar. Here's your one hotbar in the bottom middle of the screen, and yes, as a free player, you only have access to one hotbar, which I find incredibly limiting. But of course, you have your character portrait, your health, and your mana or focus or things of that nature. Your mana bar down there below your health bar. And directly across would be, like if I were to target this guy, it would show up right there as you can see his health and his mana. And up at the top middle, of course, you have your character sheet. You can press the C key to access your character sheet. Press I to open up your inventory. What you see before you is actually the only inventory space you get as a free player. If you want additional inventory space, you have to pay money. If you were a subscriber, you could get inventory space just by paying credits. But as a free player, you have to pay real money exhibited through the Cartel Market and able to get additional inventory slots. But I do think that's a sufficient amount of inventory space to give you for a free player. And of course, you have your social window and your mission log, and of course your abilities window. You press the P key to access your abilities window. You have your quest log or your quest journal up at the top right. It tells you what quests you have to do, what you have to do for your quest. But the unique thing about this game, take a look at where the minimap is, and then take a look at where the chat window is. It seems like it ought to be the other way around in some form or fashion, doesn't it? I don't know of many MMORPGs that have the chat window at the top left or anywhere near the top of the screen. But you might think that that's a little weird, and well, and it is a little weird, but it's really, it doesn't take it. It's not as hard to get It's not as hard to get used to that as you might think. In fact, especially if you play some first-person shooters, it comes quite naturally. And if you don't like it, with the advent of 1.2, this game does boast a healthy set of UI customization features, and you can design this user interface to resemble a much more standard user interface if you so desire to do so. Anyway, I can pull out my little training lightsaber here if I just press the X key. But we're going to walk out of here. But before we do, you see that little green, it's like that little green barrier there? Right now, I'm in a story phase. This game makes extensive use of phasing, or instancing, depending on what you want to call it. As you can see, that little yellow sign there below the little bar with all the mission log and abilities windows and things like that. That lets me know that we are in my story instance. Now, if we can walk out of here, and that little thing's going to go away, and lets us know that we are no longer in an instance. And while your story instances are exclusive to you, no one else but you can be in your story instance at one time. You can actually invite group members into your own story instances, and you can have even people from the same class. In fact, when I played originally, that's actually how I ended up beating the main storyline for the Jedi Knight. I had to have a friend of mine. We both did it. We teamed up and both did ours at the same time, because let me tell you that for the Jedi Knights, the final quest in the main storyline is a real pain. Maybe some of you who have played that game can attest to that. Anyway, here's the here's a first look at what you'll get when you see Tython. And a lot of people criticize the Old Republic for taking this sort of cartoony art style. I kind of like it. I mean, I don't think it doesn't. A lot of people say it's like the Clone Wars. I don't really think it looks like the Clone Wars. I think it looks much more like a graphic novel. Some of those old Star Wars comic books I remember reading when I was a kid. Anyway, what we're gonna have to do, we're gonna talk to this little droid here, and we're gonna go all the way down to this area here where you can see I have to click this little green icon. And we're going to go in this incredibly cheesy looking space taxi, which is one criticism I do have with the game. I mean, that just, it looks a little, it's not so bad for the Republic. I mean, because I could actually, I guess, see the Republic having yellow space taxis. But when you play as a Sith, it's like the same thing, except for it's black and red, and that just, it looks silly to me. Anyway, we kind of went down from a cliff there, and we're going to pick up a quest from this guy here, and we're going to complete our main story quest. So let's talk to him, and I'm going to spacebar through this again. Sometimes even quests that aren't the main storyline, sometimes even they have decent stories that are worth watching and not spoiling. So I'll just go ahead and spacebar through all that so I don't spoil anything for you guys. You gotta kill some Flesh Raiders, and I know from experience that these guys are gonna go down really, really quick. They don't take many hits at all. In fact, as I went through the game, I found myself wishing that more of the game was this easy. I know that makes me seem somewhat like a Care Bear, but this game actually, the PvE content, in my opinion, depending on which class you actually play, can be a bit challenging. I know my Jedi Sentinel at several points in the game, especially coming up against boss fights and things of that nature, felt severely underpowered, even though now that he's at endgame, he's actually a pretty good character. Anyway, I guess I should go ahead and show you guys some of the skills that I have. I'm going to go ahead and buff myself first. I have the Shi-Cho form. Enters a balanced lightsaber form, increasing all damage dealt and reducing all damage by 3%. I'm going to click that and watch what happens. Okay, now I have two abilities right now. I have Strike and Slash. Strike inflicts 38 to 49 damage with a series of quick melee attacks, generates 2 focus strikes with both weapons. Whoa, these guys come up to me and they attack me right there. And I also have Slash. Slash is the target for 75 to 86 damage, attacks with both weapons if dual wielding. Now's a good time for me to go ahead and mention one thing, and I accidentally took that ability off of my hotbar. Now's a good time for me to go ahead and mention this. This game has no auto attack, but it does have an ability that you would basically use for an auto attack. The one key is, for all intents and purposes, your auto attack. It's the button you press when everything else is on cooldown. And this little icon here with the question mark, it's telling me that it has all these tutorials. We don't need them, so we're just going to go ahead and click off of them. Cater. And that's a nifty feature in the Old Republic, where some quests you don't actually have to go to an NPC to turn in, or to at least update. Sometimes you can just use your holo communicator, but there's some things I don't like about it. Like, for example, I think it's underutilized. You would think that almost every single quest you could just radio the guy and say, "Hey, I just killed all these monsters for you." But actually, no. It's I can only think of a handful of times where they actually used that feature, which is kind of weird considering Rift actually just implemented a lot of quests with their newest expansion pack that are just like that. You get the quests out in the field, and then you finish them out in the field. You don't actually have to go back to another NPC. Okay. And I just got another quest. I have to free the captured Padawans. There's 6 of them, and they're going to be located in these cages that are all around the area. And I remember when I first played this game, it was back when it was in beta. It was one of the later betas. I think it was like in October, and the game came out, of course, in December. I remember there were so many people in the starting zone at the time. I just camped next to one of those cages, and every time it respawned, I clicked on it. And that was about the only way I could get it done in a reasonable amount of time. I'm killing a lot of these Flesh Raiders on my way to the to find the captured Padawans, because I actually have a bonus quest. I'm not sure when I got it, but as you can see, I just reached level 2. So when I go back to turn in my quest, I'll have to visit my trainer. But sometimes you'll kill a monster, or sometimes you'll just go into a new area and you'll automatically pick up a bonus quest. And these are usually just kill X of Y or collect a certain amount of things, or something very, very simple. You don't have to do them. They're very much optional quests, but you may want to do them, especially early on when they don't take a lot more time. And they do give you a nice boost in experience points that you may need later, because I do find in the Old Republic, I do find it fairly easy actually to go under level, and especially considering that free players actually have an EXP restriction, meaning that they don't earn experience points as fast as normal players, which I hate that. I think I hate games that try to make I hate free-to-play games that try to make the free players feel like second-class citizens. SOE is notorious for that, and now BioWare seems to be, or EA seems to be going down that same route. Now I understand that you don't give if you have a subscription option, you don't want to give everything to your free players. You don't want to give away the entire game. You want to provide them some incentive to subscribe, because after all, that's really the point of the free-to-play model, is just to give players some incentive to subscribe. But at the same time, you want to make them feel like they're being treated fairly. And I don't think when you restrict them to that great a degree where they can't even earn experience, I think that's a little too restrictive. And I really hope that they ease up on their restrictions as time goes on, if they see that perhaps they're not retaining as many players as they thought they would. I have to kill one more Flesh Raider, and I have to get 5 more. I have to free 5 more captured Padawans. Hopefully it won't take me too much longer to find those captured Padawans. Alright, I completed the bonus quest. So you see, I got a bit of bonus experience. Sometimes you'll actually get items and certain things for completing the quest. You don't always just get experience. You get credits and experience and different things. Personally, I don't do all of them myself, actually. I only do probably... I do all of them at the beginning, probably for the first 10, 15, 20 levels or so, and then I just kind of do them intermittently. I don't know. I tend to make up the lost experience by doing a lot of space missions. Yes, this game, of course, has space missions, which you really... If you've played Star Fox or Panzer Dragoon, then you pretty much know the deal there. It's an on-rail spaceship shooter. And also the game... Well, yeah, also the game has... a bonus quest series, a bonus quest series. I don't know why I couldn't say that. That it is kind of irritating, because you'll have finished an entire area. You're thinking that, oh, okay, I finally got it. You know, I finally got this quest finished. I'm ready to go to a new area. I'm ready to go to a new planet. Ready to progress my story. And then you have like a whole another quest line that they always seem to wait until you get to the spaceport where you're ready to board your spaceship to go back to another planet. And they say, oh wait, well you have all these bonus quests. You don't have to. And again, they're bonus quests. You don't have to do them if you don't want to. But they usually get some really good rewards. And if you're already behind on the EXP curve, there's really no reason for you not to do them. So we have 3 of the 6 captured Padawans already. And I'm going to say, I think for free-to-play, I have noticed that a lot more people are actually playing the game. For example, I don't know if you can see this on YouTube, but on the chat window, you can actually see how many players are in a certain zone. It says 50 players are in Tython right now, and for a game that is already nearly a year old, to have 50 players in the starting zone, I think that's pretty good, actually. I mean, I don't think, you log into Rift, I don't think you're gonna have 50 players in the starting zones of that game. I could be wrong. I don't think you will. So I think at least in the short term, this free-to-play model has definitely been a huge help for BioWare and EA in terms of making the Old Republic a more profitable venture, because as we all know, and as I certainly will be the first to admit, the Old Republic didn't quite live up to expectations. And I think that it didn't live up to expectations for a variety of reasons, which I won't necessarily go into in this video, because that would not the purpose of this video, but I do believe that it should be said, and if you're that interested in finding out, why the Old Republic was looked at so unfavorably over the years, or not over the years, but since it's been released, then I recommend you look that up, because it's definitely, there's a lot out there about it. The internet, everyone has an opinion, and everyone thinks that they should share it with you all. So you can check that out if you want to. All I have to get is two more, or I have to free two more captured Padawans, and I can bring up my map by pressing the M key, and I can go over these little icons that they're rotating, and I can click them, and it basically shows me the radius within which I can walk to find quest updates. So that way I know that maybe I've gone too far, I haven't gone far enough. And like I said, well, there's some flesh raiders, so it shouldn't take me too long to kill. Yeah, these guys, like I said, they go down very, very quick. I think you'll find that when you level up, it's not going to be quite as easy to take down multiple mobs at the same time. And that's the way the Old Republic is set up, in that a lot of the pools, a lot of the fights that you have with mobs and such, are actually more than one mob at the same time. Now, BioWare said this was done, of course, to make the fights seem more heroic, and I like it. Generally, I like fighting more than one mob at the same time, because generally the mobs go down fairly quick, but you find out, though, that you spend about the same amount of time as you would in a lot of other MMOs killing just one mob. So in that sense, yes, it's about the same level of difficulty, but it does make you feel more heroic. And every class has all sorts of different CC abilities, in which allows them to actually be able to fight more than one mob at the same time. So it shouldn't really be a problem for most people, and it generally isn't. There are, like I said, though, there are some occasions where certain classes certainly are underpowered for the content with which they're trying to face, and those can be a major pain. But if you can get past that, which, if I can get past it, anyone can get past it, it's definitely doable. So we just completed that quest, and right now we have to find the missing students who are over here, sort of to the northeast of where I'm currently at right now. Shouldn't take too much longer to find them as we go over. And you know, for that quest, you'll notice the reward I got. I got commendations. Well, if you press the I key, go to your inventory screen, and then click the currency tab, you'll see Tython commendations. And there's commendations for various things. There's commendations for every planet. There's commendations for commendations for PvP, and all sorts of other things. And that's just basically the game's gear currency, like badges in World of Warcraft, or emblems in World of Warcraft, for example. And every planet, as I said, has those commendations, and you can do quests, and sometimes mobs drop them, and you can pick up the commendations, and then you can go to a comm vendor, and you can get some really, really good gear, perhaps the best gear available for that planet, by turning in your commendations. And I think that's a really cool feature myself. So we're almost to the area where the lost students are, supposedly, but we're going to kill some more flesh raiders, because they don't take very long. And we got one more flesh raider over here to kill. And okay, he's down. Alright, we press the M key. He's up there somewhere. I hope I'm not going in the wrong direction. Maybe I am, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Let's go up here. Let's see if I can just jump up here. Probably, and it's probably not going to let me. Oh, no? Wow, yeah, okay, that was easy. I'm not sure if that's the way the game actually intended for me to go, but nevertheless, I got there. And we're going to talk to this chick here, see what she has to say. Well, actually, we're just going to skip through it, since I don't want to ruin anything for you. And let's see. Yeah, what you just noticed, and what I just skipped through there, is this game, if I press the C key, I can show you. You see that little bar that's at the top it's blue and at the bottom it's red, that little bar to the left of my character? That's your alignment bar. This game has an alignment system similar to the alignment system found in the Knights of the Old Republic games, if you are familiar with them. Where basically, certain actions, of course, affect your alignment. You can be a dark side or light side Jedi, or even non-Force using classes can still make use of this system. And the way it works in the Old Republic is basically you'll do a quest, and then you'll have all these different dialogue options, and some of the time choosing a certain dialogue option will give you dark side points, or choosing a certain dialogue option will give you light side points. Now, it's sort of a superfluous feature, really. It doesn't do a lot. It's not really integrated into the game in any way that really makes a big difference. I mean, your choices that you make generally don't have really don't have much of a bearing at all in the way the story plays out, or in the way not even your side quests and or your main story. It's just you get certain items and bonuses for reaching a certain level of alignment, and those are all, again, very, very optional type stuff. So there's not a lot of point in the system as a whole, and I don't really care for it. But it's all right. It's nothing's wrong with it. Oh, and yes, it does actually alter the physical appearance of your character if you are dark side. So if you have a lot of dark side points, your face will get really pale, and it makes you look like you've been punched in the face. So we're gonna talk to this guy to complete the quest, and all right, we got some boots, apprentice's boots, 3 strength and 4 endurance. We'll select those, click accept. I hit level 3. Let's open up my inventory, equip the boots. Let's go talk to the trainer and get some skills before we head out and complete the quest, or the next story mission. Trainer's too far away. Okay, I have 2 abilities right here. I have Force Leap and Force Sweep. And right now it's just as good a time as any to mention this. You see, I have a sprint ability available to me. It says level 15, but if I were a subscriber, I could get it at level 1. You see this little thing here? So it says, I hover over this little icon here, and it says subscribers access this ability at level 1. Subscribe now to unlock this ability. So yet another way that BioWare and EA attempt to nickel and dime their free-to-play player base to make more money. And I guess that's as good a time as any to segue into the Cartel Market. If you're looking at this user interface, can you guess where the Cartel Market is? What button you press? Can't? Well, okay, I'll show you. See that little gold icon there, sort of around the middle of the top middle of the screen? It looks like a coin. You click that, and that's the Cartel Market. And it offers a number of different things. A lot of appearance gear. You can unlock various races and different weekly passes for space missions and weekly passes for operations and flashpoints and that sort of thing. You can access EXP boosts and even content. For example, I don't know if I can find it here. Let's see. Yeah. Access authorization Section X. The newest content update, Section X, that came with the free-to-play update. I was very, very excited to actually be able to log in and try out some of that new content, even though I didn't have a subscription. Well, as it turns out, I couldn't do that. If I want to access Section X, which is the newest content update for the game, I have to pay money. So that you can't even get content updates for free. You have to pay money for the content updates, and that's just it's a little. Well, it's more than a little excessive. When you combine that with everything else in this whole free-to-play model that this game actually has, it's just more than excessive. And you really get the idea here that free-to-play is basically for 2 reasons. Free-to-play, reason number 1, is to make BioWare and EA more money. I mean, you have a cartel market now where not only are you going to have every random person who decides to come try out the game, they're going to be spending, little chunks of change here and there in the cartel market. But you also have current subscribers that may want, some brand new gear, for example, that comes out. Not because it offers impressive stats, because the game, I won't go so far as to say it's pay to win. I mean, it does offer statted gear, but it's not really in-game stuff, and there's better stuff to be found in the game world itself. But it offers some really cool-looking gear, some gear that you're not going to find outside of the cash shop. And I think that's a shame, because not only are you, like I said, not only are you nickel and diming your free-to-play subscribers, you're nickel and diming your player base, your subscriber base, and I don't really care for that. And also, BioWare is trying to entice more people to subscribe, because you have to look at this free-to-play model. You can't look at this free-to-play. You can't honestly expect to really be into Star Wars The Old Republic and really play it as a main game without paying money. It's not going to happen. I mean, the whole idea here is you can play from levels 1 through 50 as a free-to-play player. But beyond that, beyond experiencing the class story, which arguably is the best part of the game, you can't do in-game PvP. You can't do in-game raiding. There's so many things in-game that you just cannot do without subscribing. And I think that's their goal here, is to get, they have all these restrictions in place where you're playing and it's just every time you want to do something cool, it's, well, you can't. You have to go to the cash shop. And I know, because it does me. I mean, it's already doing this to me right now. It's like I see these restrictions and I say, you know, I really if I just would pay $15, you know, I could subscribe and I could get all this cool stuff, you know, for my character, my level 50 Sentinel, that I can do Section X, I can get all this cool appearance armor and just make my character look really, really cool. I can do all that. But at the end of the day, then you stop and you just think, no, you know, that's what the developers, that's what they want. That's the whole purpose for this model existing in the first place. That's what they want. They want to nickel and dime you. They want to make money. It's not doing this as a charity, and it's just like that part of it kind of distracts me, like I said. And it's not, I mean, you might think, well, duh, obviously they're not a charity, obviously they're not interested in just helping you out, they're obviously interested in making money, and that is true. But again, there are so many other MMORPGs which offer a much more honest, fair, and upfront free-to-play model. My favorite free-to-play model is the one that you find, or the one that NCSoft uses for Lineage 2 in Ion. It's the totally free-to-play model, where they have completely done away with their subscription options, so they don't have a reason to restrict their players to say, oh, you need to subscribe to access said feature. No, it's entirely free-to-play. You have, without paying money, you have access to the entire game, just if you were playing Alad's Online or Runes of Magic or something like that. And that works out for the player. That's so much better. But I've heard things. I've heard it said that NCSoft really isn't making a lot of money off that model. At first, it was a tremendous success, but now they're kind of going back and saying, well, it may not have worked out so well. So that may have been a failed experiment. You may, in fact, have to be nickel and dimed in this manner to actually have a successful free-to-play model up and running. I don't know, but I am just the player, just the consumer here. So again, let me say this: I prefer that model over a lot of these other models that pay-to-play publishers and pay-to-play developers have adopted for their MMORPGs. So now I have to go to the Jedi Temple. And I remember when I first did this, I thought this was like the coolest thing, because the Jedi Temple is a really cool looking place, and the music, which you probably won't be able to hear in that great a detail, the music when you first see the Jedi Temple is just amazing. The music in general in this game is amazing. And of course it's it's Star Wars. I mean, the John Williams stuff, it's all in there, but there's also some original content too, in addition to the famous Star Wars music from the movies. So that's always nice. And I'm trying to figure out how to get over there. I don't know why I'm having so much trouble walking around. I didn't have this much trouble before. And it's like I'm being attacked by this wild cat. Let's go ahead and kill him. Yeah, he's not going to take too long to kill. Alright, he's dead. If I can keep pressing the M key to see my map, I think I'm off the road a little bit. I need to get back on the road, then I shouldn't have too much trouble because it's just a straight shot. Yeah, I need to cross this little river here. This little lake thing. I'm going to cross this, go up, and then go across that bridge. And it's a bit of a trek to get there, and sort of indicative of, I think, what you're going to experience if you decide to play the Old Republic. I hope you have your walking boots. I mean, there's a reason why they offer subscribers the ability to sprint at level 1. Let me tell you that. Actually, originally, you couldn't sprint until level 15, even if you subscribed through the game. Originally, that was the case. But because you had so many people complaining about how long or how much walking you had to do in between quests, they decided to make it a little easier on lower level players and allowed them to sprint from level 1. Now, of course, when you reach a much higher level, I think around level 20, you actually get access to mounts, which makes the game a lot easier. But until then, like I said, you're stuck running around, and it really, really sucks. And for someone that doesn't have access to sprint, it sucks twice as bad because you're twice as slow. So as we're going to go around this little valley here, You go further, and there's the Jedi Temple off in the distance. And like I said, that is just for somebody like me who was so excited when the Star Wars: The Old Republic, when I first got to play it during the beta last October. I was just floored by this. I thought that this was just the most amazing game in the world. I mean, and I remember when it first came out, I played it for 15 hours straight, and that's probably not the marathon gaming session that a lot of you have had in the past. But for me, a 15-hour long gaming session is a very, very long time, and not a lot of games can hold my attention for 15 solid hours, but this one did. And I'm sad to say that this game really didn't hold my attention for the long haul like I thought it did. I enjoyed my time playing the Old Republic. I got to level 50. I had level 50 Sentinel. I did some raiding. I raided the first raids. I did Eternity Vault and Karaga's Palace. All these raids were really, really cool. I enjoyed them a lot. They were a bit on the easy side. I mean, basically, the hard modes in the Old Republic are probably just as hard, if not a little bit easier, than normal mode raids in WoW, if that's any indication. And the story mode raids are just ridiculously easy. You don't even have to have read a strategy. Actually, I didn't even have to read a strategy for the hard mode raids, but maybe that was just because I had a really good guild that was willing to explain the game to me. As you can see, I'm walking around the interior of the Jedi Temple, and as you can see, it's a really, really cool looking place. Well, that's about it for this first impressions video for Star Wars: The Old Republic. If you liked the video, feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe. For more content, visit MMOattack.com for MMO gaming news, reviews, opinions, giveaways, and other general awesomeness. Until next week, this is Super Zero signing off.